We all want our dishes to be sparkling clean, right? But what if the very thing we're using to clean them is actually leaving something behind? Today, we're going to dive into a completely different and, well, smarter way to think about dishwasher detergents.
You know that moment. You pop open the dishwasher and you're hit with this powerful chemical fragrance. And we've all been kind of taught to think, yep, that's the smell of a job well done. But the question we're really digging into today is, should clean actually have a smell at all? For years, the answer from the industry has basically been brute force. The products on the shelf are all in a race to be the most aggressive, using really harsh chemistry to just blast away every little bit of grime and leave behind what looks like a perfect shine. All right, so let's jump into our first section, the scent of clean. We're going to really unpack this idea of clean that we've all just sort of accepted. So the thinking behind most detergents you can buy is pretty simple. Stronger equals better. The more aggressive the chemical formula, the cleaner the dish looks. It's a simple brute force approach. But it makes you ask a really important question. What exactly is getting left behind on our plates and glasses? And that very question leads us right into our second section here, a system, not a soap. This is where we start to see a huge shift in thinking, moving away from just a simple soap to something much more intelligent. The whole idea here is that Smart Kitchen isn't trying to just be a stronger version of the same old thing. No, it's positioning itself as a totally different beast, a complete system that's designed to work intelligently with your dishwasher's entire cycle. And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of it. The magic isn't in some single miracle ingredient. It's in the architecture of how it works. The real innovation is in the design of how the tablet actually does its job from the beginning of the wash to the end. So, how does this system really work? Well, let's get into it. Section 3, we're going inside the dual core formula. We're going to look right inside the tablet itself to see how it's built. So, first thing you'll notice are the two different colors. And these aren't just for show. They're not for marketing to make it look cool. Each color represents a totally separate job that gets activated at a different point in the wash. And this is what they call the smart dual core formula. The best way to think about it is kind of like a timed release capsule. It's an architecture built to deliver the right cleaning power at exactly the right moment it's needed most. It all comes down to two steps. First, that blue part creates a gentle overall cleaning environment. Then the purple core kicks in as a super targeted booster, activating only for the really tough baked-on stuff. Let's talk about that blue matrix first. Its job is to create a gentle but really effective cleaning environment for the whole cycle. And here's the key part. It cleans without damaging your dishes and without leaving behind that weird chemical film or smell. This is the foundation. Okay, now for the really clever part, the purple core. This is where the power is, but it's smart power. Instead of making the entire tablet a chemical powerhouse, this little concentrated booster activates only when it needs to. To tackle the tough stuff like grease and residue, it puts the power exactly where it's needed and only there. And this whole design philosophy brings us to section 4, and it's really the heart of the product, precision over power. It's a complete flip of the conventional way of doing things. The difference in logic couldn't be clearer. The old way says, stronger is always better. This new approach says, hold on, maybe more precise is actually safer. Safer for your dishes, your machine, and probably for you too. Let's just put them side by side. Mass market stuff, it's usually just one big aggressive chemical mix. Smart Kitchen, it separates the jobs. It only uses that localized power core for tough stuff like fat removal. And the result? Way less chance of residue. And you avoid that long-term chemical buildup. It's just a much cleaner profile. Okay, but I know what you're thinking. This is the big question, right? If it's less aggressive, does it actually work? Is it going to get that baked-on lasagna pan clean? Well, let's talk about the real price of all that so-called power. That super aggressive chemistry, it comes with baggage. We're talking about chemical residue left on the very dishes your food touches. We're talking about more wear and tear on your dishwasher, and a bigger chemical burden on our water systems. So this idea of picking precision over raw power, it's a very deliberate choice. It's about finding a path to clean that doesn't come with all those nasty side effects. The goal is to get the job done, but without the unwanted consequences. And this all brings us to our final section, the pharmaceutical kitchen. Now, that might sound a little intense, but let's talk about what this idea actually means for you when you open your dishwasher. What you actually experience day to day is really defined by what's missing. There's no overpowering chemical smell. There's no cloudy film on your glasses. It's this feeling of something being truly, genuinely clean, not just harshly sterilized. And that's the whole idea behind this pharmaceutical thinking. It's about taking principles from a field where safety, control, and getting the same reliable result every single time are everything, and applying that same level of care to your kitchen. So at the end of the day, we're left with this really simple but kind of brilliant idea: achieving a perfect clean without all the unnecessary aggression. It's about using power intelligently, and only where it's actually needed. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on: cleanliness without aggression. It's a powerful concept for a dishwasher for sure, but it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where else in our lives could we all use a little more of that kind of thinking?